Alright, welcome to the second video in my 4 Against Darkness series. Please check out the first video if you haven't already done so. That'll explain some of the resources I'm going to be using during this series, some of the different 4 Against Darkness supplements that I'm going to be working my way through and using to make these dungeon delves a little more interesting. If you haven't done so already, please like this video. I thought I would start just by putting together the party. I was originally going to just put this together off screen, but then I thought, yeah, do you know what, let's make a little video out of it. The adventurers are going to be taken from the main 4 Against Darkness supplement. I don't really have any supplements that provide additional classes. There are loads of different classes that can be used. I just don't have any of those yet. So at the moment I have to choose from the warrior, the cleric, the rogue, the wizard, oops, the barbarian, the elf, the dwarf, the halfling, and that's it. So pretty basic character types that we can choose from. Now, I need 4 in total. I've only ever played, I've taken one group of adventurers all the way up to sort of level 4 or 5. I don't really recall what types they were. I think it was a warrior, a cleric, a wizard, and an elf. No, I think that was a barbarian. It may have been a barbarian. So I don't want a halfling. We might have a dwarf. We need someone who's going to enable some healing, obviously. It might be inevitable that we include a cleric. Just looking at the cleric here, they can cast the blessing spell up to 3 times per adventure. They may use the healing power 3 times per game. This power allows the cleric to heal a number of life points equal to d6 plus his or her level. They may use healing at any moment, even during a fight. It's probably inevitable that we have a cleric, so let's start off with a cleric. I think I am going to name these characters. I'm not going to do them in this video. I'll work out what they are in between videos. We've got our cleric. Everyone starts off at level 1. Life is 4 plus level. So for example, a first level cleric has 5 life. Gold, oh yes, d6 gold pieces. I get to roll a dice already. Let's see if we can get that on screen. There we go. That is a 6, you can just about see that. Goody goody, so the cleric's got 6 gold to get started. So a cleric adds half of his level rounded down to his attack rolls. A cleric adds his full level when he attacks undead creatures. Right. I might just pop that. I think I seem to recall I remember putting these bits and pieces in the abilities section just to remind me. So add half of level to attack rolls. Rounded down, so that means at level 1 we don't add anything to attack rolls. But let's assume we're going to survive the first adventure. to attack. Plus level to attack versus undead. Light armor, heavy armor, shield. That's the word loud. Alright, so we've got blessing, 3 lots of blessing spell, and healing power 3 times per game also. Light armor, shield, hand weapon. May trade shield and hand weapon for a 2-handed crushing weapon. Usually prefer crushing weapons because the chances of meeting skeletons and skeletal rats in dungeons are pretty high. It's a good reason to have a crushing weapon. Hand weapon is a standard weapon. Light armor adds +1 to defense rolls. Did it say shield? Yeah, shield. Shield listed here. Gives +1 to defense rolls. Or we could trade that in for a 2-handed crushing weapon. 2-handed weapons give a +1 to attack rolls. Do you know what? Let's do that. So 2-handed crushing weapons such as a mace or a hammer. Crushing 2-handed weapons, a war hammer, a quarterstaff. Quarterstaff seem to make sense to me. Let's put that here. 2 hands. But we've also got our light armor. So my attack, I think it would just be +1. I think I'm just going to write +1 there for now. That's because of my quarterstaff. And defense is +1 because of the light armor. Right, I think that's pretty much everything we need to do for the cleric. So what do we want to have next? I want someone who can do a bit of scrapping. So the elf does add their level to attack rolls, except when using 2-handed weapons. An elf has +1 to attack or spell roll when fighting orcs, including orclings, orc brutes, and anyone else that's a bit orky. Adds +1 to spell casting rolls as well, like a wizard. So we could have the elf instead of the wizard. Let's have an elf. Okay. Elf. Life, 4+ level, so we're starting with 5 life. Gold, 2d6 gold pieces. Pretty good. There's a 10, so starting with 10 gold pieces. That's nice. Also going to start with light armor, but a hand weapon and a bow. Cool. Adds level to attack rolls. +1 versus orcs. Defense, I think, also starts with light armor. +1 defense. Let's put that up there. Also needs a bow and a hand weapon, and then I think we're pretty much, oh, you know, spells. Can only cast 1 spell per adventurer. Okay, per adventure, sorry. Second level elf may prepare 2 spells, and a third level elf may prepare 3 spells. Need to remember that, that's pretty important. It doesn't look like I start with any spells. Okay, so yeah, we just need to look at the hand, weapon and bow situation. Bow lets character perform a single attack before the monsters can even act. Then the bow may no longer be used as the monsters and the characters. Spend a turn. The bow user will need to spend a turn to put away the bow and draw another weapon. Arrows are considered slashing weapons. We assume a character carries all the arrows they will need and that their quiver gets replenished between games. I'm not going to keep track of arrows because, to be honest, I think I'm going to forget about the bow a lot of the time, but let's put it on here. Bow. And single-handed weapon. Standard weapon like sword, axe or mace. Let's just give the elf a sword. And I think that's everything we need there for the time being. Okay, I think I want a dwarf. Do I want a dwarf? I think we're going to have I think we might have a dwarf and a rogue. So let's have a dwarf. Level 1. 6 points of life. 3d6 gold pieces. So that's 10 plus 3, so 13 gold pieces to start with. Adds level to attack rolls except when using ranged weapons like bows or slings. +1 against, or to defense against trolls, ogres, giants. Okay. Guess we'll just pop a +1 in there for now. +1 defense versus trolls, ogres and giants. It's exactly the sort of thing I forget about. And dwarves can, oh, and +1 to attack against goblins, blimey. Dwarves can smell gold and jewels when you meet a monster. If you have a dwarf, roll a die and add the dwarf's level. If the total is 6 or better, you may determine the monster's treasure before deciding to attack. Can smell gold, jewels. I'll put a little star there to remind me to look back to here, hopefully. Extremely attached to gold. A party with 2 or more dwarves may not bribe monsters. When you find treasure that can be split, you must always to every dwarf. Okay. Starts with light armor, shield, hand weapon, or heavy armor and 2-handed weapon. I think this guy is going to be doing a lot of my fighting, so I'm tempted to say 2-handed weapon and heavy armor. What's the downside of heavy armor? It has to be heavy armor. Has to be a downside. +2 negative, so it makes them heavier. So in certain cases the character will have a negative modifier on his save roll. Heavy armor is designed to fit one wearer, so you may not reassign it to another character if the original wearer dies. Okay, well I'm going to have some of that on my dwarf. +2 defense. So in certain cases, a character will have a negative modifier on his save roll. I guess I'll be told about that as and when it happens. And we want a heavy 2-handed weapon, which will give us +1. Let's go for, let's have a slashing weapon. Let's have an axe attacks. Just going to write slashing. I know that that does affect some situations. Slashing, +1 attack. So we're actually getting +2 on our attack, because we're getting +1 because of his level. So a rogue is our last, going to be our last party member. Let's try and do this a bit quicker. So it's going to be a first level rogue. Oh, life is 3 plus level, so the rogue's only going to have 4 life. That's pretty sucky. 6 gold. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 gold. Attack adds level to rolls of disarm traps and to his defense rolls. Adds his level to his attack rolls only when attacking an outnumbered minion. Adds level on rolls to discard, to disarm traps. Weapons, starting equipment, rope, lockpicks, light armour and a light hand weapon. Light armour, which we've established gives +1 defence, +1. So we need a light hand weapon. So just regular hand weapons, let's just go with a sword. Doesn't give any bonus. I think that's it. I think that might be the party good to go. I think we need to decide on someone to hold a lantern. We do. I can't quite find the page on lanterns right now, but for the time being I'm going to give the lantern to the rogue. It's probably an issue of holding a lantern. I think you can't do it if you've got a two-handed weapon, maybe. Something like that. But there we go. So before we start our first delve into the first dungeon, I'll give them each a name, and then we'll be good to go. All right. Thank you very much for watching, as per usual, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you very much.